call this IT meeting to order. First motion of business to accept the meeting minutes from the August 11th meeting. Motion to accept the minutes.
I'll make that motion.
Got a motion by Don, second by Paul. Any comments or questions? All in favor, signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. All right, County Attorney, Roger, cybersecurity report, please.
Good morning. The cybersecurity report should be coming up on your screen fairly shortly. Not a lot of things to report. Chris and I were just commenting on the fact that we apparently only send about 20,000 emails a month, but we get almost 160,000. We're wondering who wants to talk to us more than we talk to them. Most of the activity we've had in the report that you'll see, this will go out in a minute, has been elections that's starting to ramp up. Carrie's been having a lot of contact with the folks that are running the Board of Elections security system right now to make sure that's up to speed. One other thing I'd like to talk to you about today is the state cybersecurity grant parameters will be coming out shortly. As you'll recall, we got that grant each one of the last 2 years. The first year it was given out, and then again last year, to buy things that up our security profile here at the county. Carol would like permission to apply for it again. I'd like to see if we can keep the streak alive. It's generally in the neighborhood of about $50,000. And so to apply, once the parameters are out, we'll need committee approval to do that. Pretty pleased.
I make a motion that we apply for the grant again.
Motion by Cassie, a second. Second by Sue. Any other comments or dialogue? No? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carries.
Other than that, unless Terry has anything to add, we have experienced the usual probing and things that we expect on a day-to-day basis these days, but nothing out of the ordinary as far as the cybersecurity task is concerned.
Anything? Excellent. No problem. Thanks, Terry. Anything else, Roger?
No, that's it.
All right, thank you. Next order of business, we're going to information technology. We're going to Terry, update on projects and then phone service systems.
So the projects list has not changed much from last month because there has been a big focus on budget for this month. So there is one project that we have completed and signed off of, and that is the Cloud VR solution. So that is following off, but the other projects have progressed a little bit, but I don't have much to report on progress on them. I don't know if you have any questions on the list. You should see it on the screen.
It's up there, yep.
Okay.
Any questions? Okay, go right on to the phone system.
Okay. So, the phone system has been something that has moved into the technology purview, for lack of a better term, and we're looking to move the phone system and the responsibility for it into the IT department. So that's something we wanted to talk about today. With moving the phone system comes one of the staff members that's currently in that department to come and become a member of the IT department. So that's one thing we wanted to talk about today. I'm not sure the best way to proceed. I don't know, Chris, if you have any input on we just talk about.
So currently there is a grade 13 electronics technician position in buildings and grounds. It's been there for as long as I can remember. And the primary responsibility of that particular position within buildings and grounds has always been the phone system. With the most immediate previous phone system, it started to become more software-based than the old, copper lines and a giant control room down the basement with an operator with a jack and stuff. And then with the upgrade that we've recently done in the transition to SIP line, it's become more software-based. And so after some significant discussions between Terry, Matt, myself, Melissa, the recommendation of all of us was to move the electronics technician position from buildings and grounds into IT. There are maybe some other details that we can get into, but that's the overview approach to what we're thinking of, if anybody has any questions on that.
And then we're also requesting an upgrade of the position from a 13 to a 14. due to the additional skills that they'll need to learn the functional part of the IT.
Go ahead, Dave.
The person that holds this slot in buildings and grounds, is 100% of his time spent towards, phone system? Or is there gonna be a shortfall for the staff in buildings and grounds to pick up?
So just to frame the conversation, I'd just like to look at just the position, not the person.
Absolutely, that's good.
So but that position, it's not 100% phones. It's percentages off the top of my head, maybe 50% phones. However, the other, majority percentage of duties that position carries out will transition to IT as well. So, as an example, when Buildings and Grounds is doing a renovation project or they're moving an office around, this position is the one that comes in and does the Cat6 cabling and does the data drops and stuff like that. Those duties will transition with the position for a time being, but then it's also in conversations with Matt. He has other positions and other staff within his department that are capable of doing that. So what it may become is that this electronics technician position may come into a remodel and say, okay, you want data here, here, and here. These are the ports you need to plug into in the nearest data closet. Buildings and ground staff will be able to do the actual wire runs and data drops, and then maybe this electronics technician just comes in and double checks them and says, yep, looks good, and then eventually that will be taken over by buildings and grounds.
Termination patch.
So,
Yep, that's the technical term, I call them drops.
as a follow-up for this position,
Yep,
what you're saying is that about 50% of his work is the physician's time is spent on the phone system.
50 to 60, somewhere in there would be my guess.
If the position moves over to IT, are we gonna be able to fill the balance of his position
Oh, yes,
with time?
yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so that this position, I think there is strong concurrence among the group of us that have been discussing this, that the position will be able to take on additional duties within IT and really augment the IT department. To your concern, we have had some discussions that there will be, a little bit of a vacuum created in the Buildings and Grounds department, but in conversations with Matt, that I think will be, overcome as well. So, between Matt, Terry, Melissa, and I, we all feel that this will be a big advantage to IT and that Buildings and Grounds will be okay.
And there's something else I think would be benefit from this, since it's become mostly a software position, software learning, and software with the phone system, is I don't think we've had a backup for the phone technician in Buildings and Grounds for a long time.
So yes and no. You're absolutely correct that since Bill Adamson was in that position, which was a long, long time ago, there has primarily been one person who was in charge of the phones. Currently in Buildings and Grounds, there is the electronics technician, but then there's also, kind of the head foreman who can operate the phone system in his absence. But you're right in that the very detailed, granular information has been retained in this one, electronics technician position. That's something that Terry and I have talked a lot about, that in moving the duties in this position over to IT, it will give us a really good opportunity to bring more people into the phone system, which will give us some backup, some redundancy, when this person's on vacation, it'll give us somebody else who can, step in and help us. So, yeah, we see some big advantages there.
Especially when it's getting more and more software
Yeah.
related, it's better to have people more familiar with software operations to help
Yep.
program and monitor it.
He also does access control and cameras, which is,
Is that what's gonna make up the additional work for the position? Or?
no, my hope is to cross-train him in the help desk.
Okay.
He does a lot of, the general work, which would be a great frontline help desk.
Go ahead, Dan.
The physical location, does that change with this change, and is there room for that change?
Yes.
Go ahead, Mike.
So do you need a motion to change the staffing pattern to delete 13 out of Buildings and Grounds and add 14 in IT?
Yes, so it would be to eliminate, it would be to change the staffing pattern for the elimination of an electronics technician position in Buildings and Grounds and the addition of an electronics technician position in the IT department. And then it would be to change the change the hourly schedule to be determined whether it's non-union or union, from a grade 13 to a grade 14 for the title of electronics technician.
I'll make the motion, Debbie, if you got what he just said.
Okay.
Okay.
Motion by Matt, second.
Second.
Second by Cassie. Discussion? Go ahead, Dan.
Cost,
Yes,
what's
what's the-
the cost of that?
I would assume it'd be a change from a 13 to 14, which would be, I don't know, Melissa, do we have any idea that fraction of $1 an hour?
Just a question if we're doing these as one motion or two individuals.
I was trying to streamline it
Me
today.
too. That's where I was
Make it all one
Okay.
big pile.
Question was, Matt had a question. Melissa, do we know a dollar change that could be? I don't know if
I was gonna
Melissa's
say-
From a 13 to a 14.
13. Al, do you have your hand up?
Yeah, I think procedurally, the staffing pattern change goes to personnel and the grade change goes to finance, if that matters.
All right, so we don't have to discuss that here. We have a motion on the floor.
No, but Dan, you want to get the information though.
Yeah.
Dan wants, okay.
The base rate hourly difference is $1.12.
Base rate, now, is that what this will be, or will it be more than that, because they're not at base, right?
This person would be fourth year, so $1.11.
But we don't discuss the person, we discuss.
That's why I was giving you base rates. It's within a cent, so
Oh,
yeah.
I agree,
Okay.
I agree, you were right.
No, I agree, yep, it's $1.12 for all intents and purposes.
Any other questions?
About $1,200 a year.
So, all right, so my motion was to move to personnel, right? Okay.
All right, no other questions? Moving to personnel. All in favor, signal by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, carries. Did that handle the personnel changes, Terry?
No,
Okay.
that's part of it.
It had one.
Yeah. And the second request is a request for some restructuring within the IT department, because of the changes that's going to be happening. Which would be the elimination of a different position.
Okay.
I don't know, Chris, how you wanna,
So in discussing this with Terry and Melissa, not dissimilar to the phone system, kind of the role of IT is evolving, as our reliance on technology changes. In, discussions with Terry and Melissa, and in Terry's, trying to be responsive to the budget officer's request, with the transition of the electronics technician from the buildings and grounds to the IT department, what Terry and Melissa and I have talked about is the elimination of one microcomputer specialist position from the IT department. So on the staffing pattern, there's currently 2 full-time, 1 part-time microcomputer specialists. The request made by the department head would be for the elimination of 1 full-time microcomputer specialist position.
it'll put us in a little bit of a tight spot for a little while Alan's getting, the electronics technician is getting ramped up, inside the IT department, but I think overall it'll be good.
So is this another just staffing pattern change, or is this, just a motion going to executive session to discuss any issues with this?
No, so this is just a staffing pattern, change, then, if the committee goes forward with the staffing pattern change, I would request an executive session to discuss matters leading to the appointment, promotion, demotion, firing, and hiring of an individual.
Motion for a staffing pattern change, Matt?
Right.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Moved by Matt, second? Second by Cassie. All in favor? Conversation? Go ahead, Don. You're on mute, bud. There you go.
No discussion. I was swatting a fly.
Oh.
Sorry.
With no other discussion, motion on the floor, all in favor, signal by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, motion carries. Entertain a motion to go to second, executive order to discuss further. So moved by Cassie, second. Second by Don. All right, go on. What's that?
The reason is, Chris.
Okay, to discuss matters leading to the, promotion, demotion, appointment, or termination of an individual.
All in favor of motion? Aye. Opposed? All right, motion carries. We'll go to